I'm wearing Paul's muff.
I got that audio.
You can put that in. That'll be my loosener. It's quite good for massaging your hands things, actually.
You recording?
I better just put my phone on silent.
So professional right now.
It already is.
Look who we found. Hi, Alex. How you doing?
I'm good.
It took a trip to Italy to get us together on a podcast.
Even though we live about 10 miles from each other.
Yeah, no, it's a bit shit, isn't it? But
Why not meet here?
we just spent the last 2 days together at this Officine Mattio event. And I don't know, for me, I thought it'd be great to have a chat about, like, if you were to start a carbon frame production company in 2025, how the hell would you start?
I think from what we've seen, well, the limited footage we've seen from the composites factory, probably in a similar way to Officine Mattio, starting in a massive factory in Asia with 400,000 USD investment in molds would just scare you off.
That's just for the molds, I think. Yeah,
the tooling without any customers, and you've got your marketing spend on top. I think the way they're doing it, from what we've seen, is probably the way I'd do it. So find a small composites manufacturer that's been doing automotive or motorsport.
Gradually pull the staff in.
Yeah. Get the staff trained up on bikes. Find some staff that like cycling, which we seem to have found here. And
they've done well with that, actually.
I think they've got pretty lucky with the guys they've got. Whether they outgrow it, well, they will outgrow it because it's a small factory. They've obviously got other interests, but at some point they'll need to expand. If they want to sell more than 1,000 frames a year, they're going to outgrow it. And whether they then tool up their own factory or they try and, do some sort of, I don't know, joint venture with that carbon company, then they...
It would be nice to think that the relationship lasts and the two companies expand at the same rate together as a thing, and that heritage stays. I feel like this whole thing has been like a team effort.
So whilst you were setting the camera off just on here, I was wandering around and I actually found the owner on Instagram of that factory. He's a cyclist. He looks like a die-hard cyclist and a motorsport fan. So I think they're in good hands. It's a good
combination. Yeah.
I think they're in good hands. So it looks like they obviously can do a joint venture somewhere if they need to get bigger. But I think the foundations are there, to be honest.
Yeah. And for me, I can't help but compare it to the Time factory visit that we sort of famously did. And it's very easy to look at them when they come out of the molds and go, that was nowhere near as good as what I saw when Tony presented me with the Time one. But
obviously it is a completely different method of manufacture.
Yeah.
And my question for Davide in the factory was, you're now doing volume production essentially, and you've got 6 frame sizes on the SL and a Lemma or whatever, but you're still using a method which is more akin to custom frames or boutique frames, which is tube to tube construction and then overwrapping.
Do you think that's
they've moved away from that? Because the more you see in the factory, the more you see like modules of molds, and you see the bottom bracket connected to the seat tube, and then the head tube in some of the frames looked like it was one piece and some of them looked like it was 2 pieces. So they're slowly moving to kind of from tube to modular, and then the next step will be a front triangle, a rear triangle, a full monocoque. So whether it's coming, I'm not sure.
It got the impression of like, do you stay in your lane with the whole custom geometry, millimeter perfect customs and stuff, and just gradually hone and make that process quicker, more cost effective? Or do you just use that as a starting basis and go, at some point we have to transition to
fixed molds,
fix molds and stuff? And they must be really challenging with that, because that amount of investment, like you say, £300,000 in molds and...
Well, I mean, that's just a figure that I last heard.
I don't think
a Chinese factory, but...
I don't think you're far off from what Tony was saying at the time, was every single mold was about 50,000, and that's just the external mold. He had to do internal molds as well.
You've got all the sizes.
Yeah.
And front and rear triangle, and then you've got, the compression molds for the dropouts and the fork dropouts. And the interesting thing actually about Officine Mattio is that they're making their own fork. And when I was looking at the bikes yesterday, I just thought, oh, that's a Chinese fork. But they're not. They're making their own forks, which is arguably one of the most difficult parts.
Yeah.
And a lot of other boutique frame manufacturers do not make fork. They'll buy it from Envy, or they'll buy it from a Chinese supplier. And
it was a full carbon fork. There's no aluminium dropout.
No, I mean, the brake mounts and it had a threaded insert for the compression on the headset. But it was full carbon. It looked quite well made.
Yeah.
But I think, next step for them will probably be handlebars as well. because I think they're not using their own. Well, they're not making their own handlebars.
I didn't see any evidence of those handlebars being made at all. I have to say, I think they're still being exported. I was quite impressed about how much stuff was made in Italy. I was wondering how much of it, how committed they were when I saw the clothing and the water bottles and everything else that they do, and I kept looking around and thought, oh, that was made in Italy. Okay, thumbs up. Yeah. Elite water bottles, they're made in Italy.
Yeah.
So,
It's supported. They're obviously very patriotic about the components on the bikes. All the test bikes have got Vittoria tyres. Okay, mine were made in Thailand, but it's still an Italian brand. Oh, actually, maybe it's a Thai brand. I don't know, but obviously they're trying to do more here, and I think whether they can continue to do that on a big scale, I'm not sure. But it's just a difficult. With composites are always difficult to really like ramp up the numbers because traditionally composites is a low volume, high performance method of making.
It's like fair play for trying, really. Yeah. I mean, that conversation I had with Scott was like, gee, this is going to be hard. So like, be sure you want to do this. So here's a question. We've got in the UK, we've got Reap. I think we've both had chats with the guys over at Reap Components.
Very
do you think that Reap might be looking at Officine Mattio and thinking, actually, I wonder if we can run production in this way?
I'm not sure what the setup with Reap, but I think they're at a similar level where they're kind of umming and ahhing about, do we really go full in on a load of molds, or do we try and keep it in local composites companies in the Midlands, which is where they are, and try and grow from there and partner with local brands to help them with the composite side. Like I said, it's a very difficult volume to be in.
It's a big decision to make.
Yeah. The next step is a lot of money involved. Yeah.
And it's either you get a chunk of investment and then you've got all the obligations to that investment. That investment doesn't just come as free money.
No. And I think obviously maybe 10, 20 years ago, the obvious for if you were starting a bike brand was when China was cheaper. It was cheaper to tool up in Shenzhen or Taiwan, whereas now the bigger factories or the Taiwanese factories are moving out of those big cities because it's now too expensive in China.
Yeah.
So they're either moving to much more rural parts of China or even Vietnam, Myanmar, places like that.
And the factories that do exist out there, as we've seen, are now saying, actually, why don't I just put my own brand on this?
Yeah.
And then go straight to market.
They've got the tooling know-how, they've got the layout know-how. If they can, get their marketing a bit more polished, they've got everything they need under their roof. So it's a nice time for the smaller European manufacturers to shine, actually, because I think the bigger Western manufacturers who do rely on outsourcing everything to suppliers are going to be the ones that struggle in this market. Whereas you talk about,
you need a point of difference, don't you?
Yeah.
I think.
With inflation and everything, cost of living going up, you're still going to sell high-end products. The high-end buyers are not affected by the cost of living crisis.
A high-end buyer is a very discerning buyer, I think.
Discerning buyer, but they I don't think the cost of the frame, if they want to make a patriotic choice or a choice with a bit of difference, I don't think the cost is going to come into it too much. So I think it's an exciting time for the smaller manufacturers, actually.
Yeah, I think so. When there's especially in sort of current political climate, not that I'm going to get into that on this podcast at all, but I think there's definitely the people that I speak to in the shop would just sort of, I wish it was made in Europe, or I wish there's definitely, I think if given the choice, performance and price being equal, I think we'd always choose a domestic brand over a foreign brand. I think that's probably fair to say.
I'm completely the opposite.
Really?
I would just go on merit. I don't care, as long as it's not too political. I mean, I don't care where it's made. I want it just made in the best place with the best QC. Because at the end of the day, it is, yesterday we're going down hills at 80k an hour. I just want that thing to be safe.
Yeah, of course. So
I just want the best people making it with the most experience. And if that's China, then so be it.
But all things being equal, I think you would still choose a domestic brand. Or if the quality was the same, the performance was the same, but the domestic one was £500, where's that?
I mean, do you know what? You're probably right. If all was the same, and they all cost the same, and there was a British one, or an Italian one, or there was a Chinese one, I'd probably choose British, but it was so far removed from anything being made in the UK that isn't defence or aerospace, then I just can't imagine it. I mean, I can't say that was probably like Dagenham when they were making Ford Capris back in the 80s or something, or British Leyland in the 60s. Like, if you were having this chat about 50 years ago, you could assimilate with that. But I just don't know anything made in the UK anymore that that is at that mass-produced level, like a Chinese carbon brand. But yeah, all things being equal, yeah, I'd buy it from a local company.
And I think that's what they're trying to do here. I can't imagine that happening in the UK at all. I can't think of anyone that's even remotely close to doing what OM are doing here. But I can see OM trying to get to that point of the argument where it's the same. This one's made in Italy, this one's made in Taiwan. Which one do you want?
Looking at the carbon factory where they're in, I think that seed could grow organically in the UK if you got the right, passionate people, and they were teamed up with the right small composites company who were helping to, do the R&D and helping to do the layup and the tooling. I think it could happen. Obviously, the price is going to be high, like it is here, but I think it could happen because we've got loads of little composites experts and.
Oh yeah, around where we are with the BAE systems around, etc. There's loads of people that we know that work in this sort of industry.
Even not like that, just like small scale motorsports companies and things like that. Like not so at like defence level like BAE, but just local companies who make carbon fibre wings for Formula 3000.
Everything. Yeah, I mean we sort of the Brits kind of own motorsport somewhat, don't we?
The expertise is there.
Yeah.
You just need it's a kind of a bit of a mixing pot of luck, really. You've got a very enthusiastic investor, you've got an enthusiastic cyclist as a CEO, and you've got a factory who loves cycling, and you just need that.
And you've got the paint shop cyclist, it's
just need that bit of luck to all come together and agree to just set something up. And I think it can happen. It can happen in the UK.
Interesting.
It just hasn't found the right connections yet, maybe. Maybe that's something like REIT,
Maybe it is. Maybe you've got to start the spark somewhere, haven't you?
Yeah. But we'll wait to get one of their bites first to comment more on those, because
I've been promised a bite. You've been promised a bite.
I think so. No, maybe they just haven't got enough to go around. I'm going to try one out. Yeah,
it's. I mean, the production here as well is like 600 bikes a year. I mean, that's tiny when you think about. It's like next to nothing, isn't it? If that is like every dealer that they're signed up with selling 2 a year, something like that, isn't it? It's sort of worked out as it's definitely like.
When you consider
tiny
the composites factory that they've got to do almost 2 a day, that must be like at capacity.
It did look busy.
It's a very laborious. I mean, any carbon frame is a laborious process, but if you take a mass-produced frame like Giant or something made in Taiwan or China, they have really, although laying up carbon is a very handmade process, they've really done as much as they can to limit man hours. So the layup is always really simplified as much as possible. Mm-hmm. And maybe not on the really high-end ones where they've got, they claim they've got 600 swatches of carbon or something. But the human interaction and the post-processing, so the sanding after it comes out of the mold, so much R&D is done in the first place to eliminate post-processing, whereas in this process, just the sanding alone is probably half a day for a frame.
Oh, yeah.
So
it's even just the glue that they were using, the resins to just glue everything together was needed a lot of work to bring it down. So they haven't got that time to refine not just the construction method, but also how much resin do you need to use? How much thing do you need to do? And like, what is the best tool for sanding down that curve? What is the best grit sandpaper at what shape? Yeah.
And they seem to be sort of, without sounding too patronising, seem to be sticking with what works rather than trying to refine that. And I think when we saw the frames being epoxy together, that's almost like, if you were talking about a welded frame, let's say, that's the approximation or the assimilation would be like, that's the tack welding stage. So they're using that 3M epoxy to tack the frame tubes together. Most of it's sanded off because when they overwrap it, it's got to be smooth. And then once it's overwrapped with 3 or 4 plies of UD, like they said, the epoxy inside is not really doing very much. No. So it's kind of, it's there to hold the thing together whilst they're overwrapping. But after it's overwrapped, it's a bit redundant. So there's quite a lot of extra weight there. There's a load of man hours there in applying the epoxy and then sanding it. And the Davide's job is mitering the tubes on the tube cutters and, putting the scallops in the tubes before they tack them together. And it's kind of sad because he spends, obviously hours doing that. But the epoxy that he's putting on, they're using...
It covers it all up again.
Epoxy. It's all covered up.
You can't suck. You see the craftsmanship.
Yeah, when you've got like a mitered tube on a bike, on a steel bike or something, where you've got the weld, that's the strength. But after they've sanded the epoxy down, there's not much epoxy there. And the strength is coming from the overwrapping. So it's a process that suits that volume of production that they're doing at the moment, but it's not scalable. You cannot do that. You can't have enough man hours in the day, or you can, but you're going to have to pay for it.
Yeah.
And it doesn't suit more than 2 frames a day, max. So they're going to have to change it.
So much, yeah.
I think, personally.
Yeah.
Or they just stick to boutique forever and a day.
Which is definitely not the ambition here. the ambition is to try and break
But
out.
you've heard more about the ambition than I have. But
Talking of which, we talked a lot about the engineering. I'm keen on your opinion on what it is from our side as a bike mechanic dealer, because something that they're really trying to do is do the whole end-to-end process and give, once you've brought an OEM frame, is that you specify it yourself, use a configurator app, and the configurator app then communicates with you, have all the parts arrived, how is your bike progressing through manufacturing and paint and blah, blah, blah. So you get this whole live story of your bike being made. When they were trying to tell me about this as a dealer, I'm like, I just need you to provide me with a really high quality frame. I want to do the rest for my customer. As people are coming to the map deck experience, I want to help them spec all the equipment. We do the build, we do all the customer service and stuff. And it feels like you're now sort of trying to be a bike brand and a dealer and all at the same time. But that's me being emotionally attached to what I do. From your point of view, what was your...
So from what I've seen in the Asian factories, I mean, all of that checking at every stage is already done as part of the production line. So each production line, each worker have a little QR code and everything is scanned. So that frame will be fully traceable almost back to the cutting the swatches of carbon. So once they've got their swatches of carbon, which we saw today on the CNC router to cut them out, you know, you got your rear triangle, all those swatches are put in a little bag, that gets a QR code stuck on it. So that data is there, but the Asian factories, I just guess they don't think that has any value to the end customer, because they could share that with the customer if you've got like a pre-order and a name on a bike at that stage. But they've got all that data because it's part of the traceability through the line. And that comes from automotive when they, you know, started putting that in the 70s and 80s, and Japanese, it was taken from Japanese car manufacturers, all that sort of Kaizen stuff was put into everything, whether it's a hi-fi or a bike frame. So that data is there, but we were talking about it last night. I personally, I don't give a crap what part of the production line the bike's through. I just want to know that when it's come off the production line, all the tolerances are there. So maybe a QC document is more valuable than your bike has left molding, your bike has left paint, your bike is now being shipped. Like, it's nice to know for me just a shipment date and a QC document. That's just me. Some people don't care. Some people just want to get the bike, and if the gears work, that's fine.
The QC document is something that we do, that we provide to our customers, and it's definitely appreciated to say that actually someone has checked all of this. And you're right, that's definitely something that I would wish that all bike brands would do, was actually someone sign their name to, you know, and this has been checked, and this bottom bracket is at this bore, and this bearing seat is at this tolerance, and you know, I have checked this through axle hole, etc. So and then you sort of got that level of accountability when you bounce back and say it's not, you go, I know the guy that measured the through axle holes, and actually
you start to see some wheel sets now coming with a little chart and all the spoke tensions listed. The irony is a lot of the spokes now are carbon, and it's very hard for someone at home to actually know what that number means, because it's not like a steel spoke. But at the end of the day, if they're not true, you're going to notice. So the proof's in the pudding, really, I think. And I think half of these factories that start out doing this kind of thing is like a nice little extra or a nice little bit to make the difference on a high-end wheel set. But at the end of the day, sometimes I think they're just made up. And the numbers are just filled.
I'm pretty sure that's the case.
When you measure it, it's all over the place. Or as soon as you put a tyre on it, it goes out true. So, like, it's not really worth the paper it's written on sometimes. Definitely true of some of the wheels that we've had in the on the channel recently, that's for sure. Yeah, for me, I think that this custom thing has got to go custom all the way to the end. It's all very well doing all this custom geometry and everything else, but for me, like, the bike fit ends when your customer is sat on it and says, is that exactly where you want us to cut the steerer tube? You know, you're happy with your bike fit as it is right now, this very second. Okay, right, we're going to cut that there. We're going to put this handlebar. That's where that ends. It doesn't end in we've done a bike fit and then it's delivered in a box. For me, I think there still needs to be an element of like the final sign off on that fit. I think with any custom geometry boutique frame builder, I think it's also really important to have a process where you're checking that the geometry the customer wants is actually correct. Because, I mean, I've got quite strong opinions about bike geometry, and I've had a custom frame made for me in the past, my framework frame that I'm riding at the moment, and I was convinced it was right. And then you just don't know until you've got it. You can set up on a jig, you can set up on a turbo train and simulate all the X and Y points of the bar and the stand and stuff, but until it's made, you don't know. And I think what Officine Mattio need to do is have a bit more I mean, I don't know how it works because I'm not a customer, but I haven't seen any like consultation period with the customers and how in detail that is, where the customer says, I want this, and how much help they're given by by the brand, because I think it's quite easy, and I talk from experience, it's easy to get it wrong.
Yeah, at the moment they're relying on their dealers, but at the same time they're introducing tools that would eliminate the dealers a little bit by coming in and offering a bike at a lower price than a dealer could, deliver it fully built.
Right.
So when you're competing with us, it's like, well, I could put this bike together for you, but if you're going to undercut me on price with all the group sets and wheels, I can't be helpful. But at the moment, I still think OM need dealers to get that element out. So yeah, we'll see. I'm not rushing into this, definitely with full of enthusiasm for sure. I'm sort of approaching this as, this is interesting.
Yeah.
I don't know where it's going to go, but I'm going to keep a really close eye on it because potentially it's really interesting.
One thing I say in my own little crappy piece of camera just walking down the street there is we obviously felt how hard it was to film anything inside the factory. We really had to sort of push to get anything out of it.
Yeah.
And essentially that is the reason why we're here. There's the reason why I'm here. I've been waiting all week to come to this little bit of the trip.
Yeah.
I mean, riding a Gran Fondo is great, but you can do that anywhere.
It's like your USP is your factory.
Yeah,
you need to tell the world about your factory.
You're Officine Mattio, right? If your factory is making Lamborghini parts, which they may or may not be doing, you want to show that.
Yeah.
Well, you want to say we're doing high-end automotive, we're doing naval engineering, we're doing swimming ladders for super yachts.
That needs to be the sort of thing.
Those are the type of customers.
Not that we saw any of those things in the factory, by the way.
Hypothetical.
Yeah, just like
those are the type of customers that are going to buy the bikes. That's the market. It's the guy that's got a super yacht. He wants a Officine Mattio in the dinghy cupboard downstairs.
Yeah.
Like, tell people, don't guard it so much.
You're so right. The fancy showroom, I think, is almost a negative for me because you're going, I'm spending all this money, but it's all on fancy marketing and fancy showrooms. Like, no, I need to get in. I want to see the factory. I want to see the people.
Yeah.
I want to see that passion that you talk about, real, live. I want to see people with dirt on their fingers, and doing it properly. That for me is what this brand needs to communicate.
I agree. I think they need to showcase, whilst they've still got that heritage before they get too big, they need to showcase their roots and their manufacturing roots. I think it's a massive part of it. And the swanky showroom is nice, but it's a bit of it looks to me like a bit of a mask.
Yeah.
And I think having a bit of grassroots in there is a bit better, but maybe that's just our British, that's what we like. Maybe the Italians don't like that. I'm not sure.
It's like, I don't know, I think going back to the Ferrari thing, you can go to Maranello and see part of your car being built, can't you? And I think...
Well, I'm not sure. I'm not
no, but...
I've been to the Maranello Museum and I've seen the welding on the F12 chassis. It was shit. It's like chicken shit.
And on that note... No, to be fair, I think we probably covered the subject to death. Thanks so much, Alex, for your input on that. And it was good fun. It was... if anything that came from this trip, I had a good ride out in the sunshine.
Yeah, it was good. It was hot.
Yeah.
I've still got DOMs from the cramp from yesterday, but yeah, it's good.
Right, brilliant. Thanks for watching, guys.
Cheers.
See you soon.